Welcome into the Big Chief Show. I'm your host, Fred Davis, alongside the one, the only, the founder of TakingVegas.com, one of the best handicappers in the United States of America. I'm just going to go ahead and say the world because why not? The one, the only, Mr. Chris Hodge. Chris, look, and I want to preface this real quick. What's that?
You made a good call. The last time we did a show, you said Kansas. You're giving me all the credit, man. You said Kansas is going to beat Oklahoma. Take some credit, bro. Take them down.
What I tell you, huh? Look, man. I mean, look. If this roofing thing doesn't pick up here pretty soon, I might be angling for a job with you here pretty soon. But no, I look. We're on the Big Chief Show as it's the current iteration of it, and of course we're not going to talk a whole lot of Chiefs today, but we got a little something coming down the pike that Chris and I'll be working on that will not be the Big Chief Show. The Big Chief Show will continue on, but it will be just strictly Chiefs information. So we'll pass that along when that time comes. And so, anywho, now that that's out of the way, look, we had our first full weekend, Chris, of no football this past weekend. It was a perfect opportunity for the NBA to be the showcase event. And it really couldn't. I mean, look, from a timing point, Chris, you couldn't have asked for a better situation if you were the NBA, right? Because it was your signature weekend short of the finals, right? You had All-Star Weekend, the dunk contest, the three-point contest. You had Curry versus your girl Sabrina, okay, which, by the way, I don't know if you saw the picture that she put out, like, right after that. Holy moly. And so, for anybody that doesn't think WNBA players clean up well, I'd challenge you to check out Sabrina's pics.
You said that, not me, man. I get enough trouble up here.
Well, I know you're a married man, so that's my word's not yours. My word's not yours. But hey, she put it out there on the socials, so I'm just one man looking at a picture like everybody else does. But the NBA had a perfect opportunity, and not only a perfect opportunity to kind of like take the torch from the NFL and say, okay, we're going to be the sport for everybody to delve into over the next 3 months, because look, call it what it is, man. We only got 20, 25 games left. So we're getting down to the proverbial nitty gritty of the NBA season. You even had Hall of Famers, legends, all-time greats imploring guys, you're going to get competition this weekend. We're going to see a competitive game on Sunday. And
Garbage. Well, let's first off go with this, right? So in NBA All-Star Game history, defense was never a priority, right? So the reason right. So the reason why the score is crazy right now is because of the three-point shot, right? I think there was 67 made three-pointers in that game.
Okay.
So back in, let's go to 1990, 1991, everyone wanted to see the dunk. Yeah. Right, live the lane dunk. Obviously, it only counts for 2 points. Now everyone's shooting the ball, and you had Luka shooting it from the opposite three-point line, right? So, but here's my point, man. They are they're the biggest bitches in the world. Can I say that on your show? The NBA athlete right now, they are the biggest prima donna bitches of all the pro athletes. They make millions upon millions of dollars. They're gifted at their sport. What a talent they have. And they just show up and they just don't care. Load management, really? Like Kobe would be rolling in his grave right now.
Probably is. The thing, and of course, then the conversation afterwards is, well, we're going to have to give these guys some sort of incentive to want to play. And
you're making $40 million. What more? What incentive?
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, and we could get an NBA agent on here, or just any agent really. I'd be hard pressed to think, Chris, that a lot of these guys probably already have incentives in their contract. They probably get incentives for making the All-Star team, do they not?
So
you tell me these guys aren't making at least $100 to $200 grand at least for making the All-Star game?
Back in the day that you and I grew up, because again we say we're on the same age, right? Now, yes. I don't know if the listeners will agree with this, but there wasn't great defense played in the NBA All-Star Game. But when it got competitive somewhere in the fourth quarter,
people locked down. Guys locked up in the fourth quarter.
Trying to get a stop. It's like these guys just don't care. And the reason being is they just make too much money now. And they've earned it. They've earned it. I'm not trying to take money away from any man. I wouldn't want someone to do that to me. They've earned it. But at some point, man, show up with some pride. Like these guys today. And it's like the generation right now. There's just no pride to win. There's just no pride to win.
Look, and we don't want to get too sounding like, get off our lawn guys, but I guess we will for just a hot minute. Look, when Jaylen Brown is the highest paid guy in the NBA, that tells me all I need to know about the league.
When Anthony Davis is making $60 million a year, or whatever the hell it is, Anthony Davis, like LeBron is still, regardless of what they say, and I hate LeBron. LeBron has done. I've said this on my podcast. I said what Magic and Bird left Jordan, and what Jordan left Kobe, and what Kobe left LeBron. LeBron is destroyed. That's my opinion. He's destroyed it.
Destroyed it how?
That game is not what it used to be, or those guys.
Now, in fairness, he did sit out the second half.
Okay, I'm not even talking, but even from a dunk contest, like what superstar in the NBA that could jump like he can jump has never done a dunk contest?
He never has.
He never has. Why?
And I know. Didn't Stephen A. bust his chops too? I think Stephen A. blamed him for the
ruination of it. He probably did, and it's true. I didn't see that, but if he did, that's true. He ruined it, and I think LeBron, to me, is the most hated superstar in any sport ever. I really believe that. He has his fans of the young generation because they don't know any better. But people that grew up watching the 80s, 90s, and 2000s of basketball, I would be hard-pressed to find anyone that likes him. And I haven't yet. And I'm in.
I got a good friend of mine here in Houston. He played overseas for 13 years, had a cup of coffee in the NBA, and is a basketball junkie. I mean, this guy's 60 years old and still watches basketball every single night. I mean, this guy loves the association. And he appreciates LeBron's basketball ability. Now, are there things about LeBron's game that he wishes were a little bit different? And he's like, look, it's just a different generation. And look, to your point, LeBron ushered in player empowerment, which at first seemed like a great idea, and power to the players and all that kind of stuff. But now we're at a point where the game has taken such a hit, and then you hear about Adam Silver saying, "Oh, we're going to expand to 2 more teams," and it's like, well, for what? You've already got a watered down league as it is anyway.
Here's my problem with LeBron. Everyone blames the Celtics for this, okay, with the big three. The Celtics did not create the big three, okay?
They really did. They popularized the term. That's what they did.
What they did was they traded for it.
Yeah.
Okay. They had Paul Pierce already there. They brought in Allen. They brought in KG. They made smart trades. And they went and got a championship, and they were, a quarter away from another championship. What LeBron did, which everyone friggin' forgets, is he did it via free agency.
Yeah.
He snaked around with his boys, okay, and decided to all get together with the Miami Heat, right? And once they had 4 years there with Bosh, with Wade, with LeBron, with Allen, okay? And they had a very good team. But then when that 4-year run came to an end where they only won 2, right? Now that's no good anymore. Oh, they're getting old. So now let me go to Cleveland again, where Kyrie is there. They got the number 1 pick, which turned into Kevin Love. It's like he jumped ship. He did it via free agency. He is the only superstar in that sport to do that. No one ever did that.
Well, up until that point, because you could argue, KD's done it.
KD had the biggest bitch move of them all. Like, he had the biggest bitch move of them all. And by the way,
can't beat him, join him.
If LeBron, well, that's just like, to me, oh my God, I that's terrible to me. I like, really, you're gonna like no one even look what happened. No one even.
What it did? Well, I'll tell you what it did was and I think, and I don't know who, this is not an original thought. I mean, I've heard this before. It basically killed any chance he was ever going to have of being in that GOAT conversation.
No one takes him seriously. No one takes the championship seriously. You had the guys on TNT saying that he wasn't the bus driver, which I agree with.
No, I mean, it was Steph Curry. Now, don't get me wrong. He balled. I mean, look, he was, before he tears his Achilles, I mean, that he was having a monster season. But let's look at that Golden State team. I mean, it wasn't like, he had to pull that team along, and they'd already won, 2 titles before he even got there?
73 wins, man. Like, look, let's go back to our time. Like, what would we think of Michael Jordan if he left Chicago and went and played on Detroit?
Oh, we'd have murdered him.
No one took that seriously.
But to your point though, Chris, that ideology, that wasn't even a thought back in those days. Like, you dance with who brought you. I mean, maybe, and of course, towards the end of your career. Now, the one thing that the Bulls did do towards the end, and you started to see a little bit more of this is that you might snipe, a Dennis Rodman. You might go grab a guy who's been in the league. You go grab a Ron Harper, for instance, right? I mean, they, those Bison Dele, for instance, okay, R.I.P. And that's what you saw a team start to do that, where you saw teams where, okay, we got our 2 or 3 main guys. We're just going to go ahead and add a few complementary role pieces that adds to it, but we had that base, that foundation, exactly.
But
right?
That's what you don't see the superstar leave. Like who are NBA superstars, right? Like from the 80s on. There's not that many of them. Well, you have Magic, you have Bird, I'll put Isaiah in there.
Oh, hands down.
Obviously Jordan. You got Kobe. Shaq is in there.
Patrick Ewing in there.
Patrick Ewing. These guys stayed with their team, with the exception of Shaq. He left Orlando and went to LA. But when he went to LA, when he signed, they didn't have Kobe yet, right?
No,
so that was a draft.
And let's not forget, they struggled for the first 4 or 5 years. It wasn't until they brought in Phil that things started to change.
They stayed with it. They didn't go look, that superstar's over there, that superstar's over here. Let me join forces with them. That LeBron started that. And to me, that is a bitch move. It just is. That's why I can't take the man seriously. I don't care about the points and all this other nonsense. I don't care. That's a bitch move. KD, bitch move. Just is what it is.
No, I mean, look, that's the NBA that we live in now. I mean, that's and I don't see it changing anytime soon. I mean, that's we're at a point now where it's like, you got teams that, and you look at a team like a Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, look, they had to go out and get Dame Lillard. Otherwise, Giannis was walking, right? And then, on the flip side of that, and I think this is what makes the NFL so much more palatable. And of course, the games is it's a much different deal because, you have fewer games. In the NFL, you can survive with a small market team. Sure. Right? Like you can have, let's call it what it is. The Kansas City is one of the smallest markets in America to have two. In fact, I want to say, I think there's only one other city in America that has a professional franchise, let me rephrase this. Let me get this right. Kansas City is the smallest city in America that has 2 professional franchises. All right. And so, but you can get by with that. Now, look, you can survive in football. Of course, then you juxtapose that with baseball. And of course, they're getting murdered right now in baseball because, let's look at your backyard. You got 2 of the biggest spending teams in the fucking world.
But you got, baseball has the revenue sharing. And look, Kansas City did win a World Series and go to another one. So they did.
That was some screwed work. But see, that's the problem, though, is that you bet. But here's the thing about that, though. To your point, that was damn near an entirely homegrown team. Right? And look, we want to talk about a crapshoot. I mean, say what you want about the NBA and the NFL. What do you got? 30 rounds in baseball, for crying out loud. You're better off getting some freaking kid out of a village in Venezuela, for God's sakes, than you are getting a pitcher from freaking, insert school here. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it's off the charts. Right. But, bringing it back to the NBA, and look, even Adam Silver was disgusted after that game was over on Sunday night. He's like, you scored the most points. Congratulations, right? I just don't know. The NBA is in a place right now. Look, they're worried about who's going to take the mantle after LeBron. Okay, he's on the
that's easy. They complicate that. Everyone's complicating this. They got 2 guys that can take that, and it's very easy. And it's not even a debate as to. It's Tatum from Boston and it's Luka from Dallas. Those are good. That's the face of the NBA. And you got one in one conference, you got one in the other. They're both very good. You can't put Wembanyama in there just yet because he's just a rookie. You don't know. Okay. But Tatum and Luka, and then listen, you got D-Book from Phoenix. You got some really good talent there.
You do, but here's the only problem with that. Here's the only thing I'm going to say about that. And you could maybe argue that Luka is transcendent. I'm not ready to go. And Jason Tatum is very, very good. I just, there's something about those guys, and maybe we've been extremely fortunate. The NBA has been extremely fortunate. Think about it. We went from Bird and Magic to Jordan to Kobe to LeBron. Right? Like, I mean, it's the NBA. I mean, we talk about franchise quarterbacks. Let's talk about like franchise or like, let's talk about NBA, like, or just sport, like generational talents in sport. So the NBA's basically had like a 30-year run where you've had just legends I don't know, Luka and Jason Tatum. I mean, if we're going to talk about LeBron, neither one of those guys are on the LeBron radar to me.
Well, LeBron, like Jordan, Jordan didn't win for his first 6 or 7 years in the league.
No,
but Tatum haven't either.
Must-see TV, though, right? Like,
I think Luka's must-see TV. I think Tatum is must-see TV. I really do. I think they're. I mean, Tatum put up 55 points in the All-Star game last year.
He did. There's just
and look, you remember when I said that thing about Belichick a couple weeks ago, and you know, it's like it was a hot take.
Yes.
I just said that Kobe handed it to LeBron because that's who it was supposed to be to.
Right.
I don't look at LeBron as the face of the NBA the last 10 years. I don't. So there's another hot take for you.
That might be the hottest take you've had so far.
Yeah.
That's hands down. That is hands down. That is a scorching melty earth.
I think Steph Curry. I think Steph Curry is the face of the NBA. When I think, because think of what Steph did. Okay. Steph changed the game. LeBron did not change the game. What LeBron did was he took what Magic Johnson did, because they're in the same ilk, and he did it a little better. And he still hasn't won as many titles as Magic. Steph came in, and I will tell you real quick, right? When I played high school basketball, okay, I had a coach, and I'm 45, now 45 in April, okay? So this is when I'm 17, 18. I had a coach who I still have nightmares about, because God forbid you took a shot from 1 foot behind the three-point line. Yeah. This guy screamed at you, why would you do that when you could pump fake, take one dribble, and shoot a 15-foot shot and scream at you? Okay? So the three-point shot was not cool. The three-point shot was not a good shot.
No, it wasn't.
Steph came in and destroyed it. He changed it.
He did.
He is
but you know what, though? I don't disagree with you in that sense. You're 100% right. He ushered in the three-point shot. But it's been to the detriment of basketball.
It has been, but think about it like this. Not everyone can dunk, right? That's why back in the days.
Look,
everyone could try to shoot.
Well, it's funny you say that because I heard somebody make that exact same point the other day about why we need to take the dunk contest and it needs to be taken out of prime time, and the 3-point contest needs to be put back in prime time as the main event, because like I said, we can all relate to it. Everybody here you can shoot a 3-point shot. I can shoot a 3-point shot. Everybody watching, hell, that guy walking down the street can shoot a 3-point shot, right? To your point, I can't dunk. Okay. Like I said, you're 44. I'm 42. I ain't, outside of a donut, I ain't dunking anytime soon. You know what I'm saying? So I get that. I don't disagree with you. I would push back on the sense of the only reason I'll say, like I said, I don't fundamentally disagree with you that LeBron isn't the face of the NBA the last 10 years. I don't hate your take on Steph Curry, because you're exactly right. He has made basketball from he's changed the game 100%.
Stayed with one team, made the team.
And he has stayed with one team. But at the same time, too, though, I will say this. They did a phenomenal. The core that they put together, like it harkens back to what we were talking about with the 80s and 90s, right?
I love you, and I hate when people say that to me, because we can't hold it against the guy whose organization did a great job. And I'm not. And that's what I'm saying. I don't hold it against him at all. I don't hold it against him at all. I mean, look, he was a great situation, and you know what? They put the pieces around him so he wouldn't go anywhere. Like, they knew what they had, right? And in all fairness, although we could argue this now, would you rather live in the Bay Area or Cleveland? Oh, come on. Right. Of course.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, and that's it. And so there is that. And, the knock was always too him trying to get people to come to Cleveland, because and I guess that's where I was going with this argument, or where I was going with my point a few minutes ago, where when you're a small market team in the NFL, it doesn't matter because, you're only there 6 months out of the year. boom, it doesn't matter. Everybody loves football, and so it doesn't matter, right? And like I'm sure people, guys, Henry Thomas, when he played with the Minnesota Vikings, he'd spend 6 months in Minnesota. When the season was over, he'd come back down here to Houston, right? And I'm sure a lot of NFL guys do that. In the NBA, it's a longer season, so where you play is a bigger deal because you're there a whole hell of a lot more.
Okay, but let's go with that, right? So let's take LA and Boston out of the equation in the NBA.
Okay.
Because those are the signature franchises in the NBA,
right.
and they always find a way to be good, right? Okay, let's take them out. But if you look at it, what was Detroit before the Bad Boys? What have they been after the Bad Boys? I think they've won one title, right?
They had that one run in the early 2000s.
Okay, but what were they before? They were garbage before. Isaiah shows up, Dumars shows up, Lambeer shows up. They have a good team, right?
Yeah.
What were the Chicago Bulls before Jordan? I know that's a big market, but what were they? They were garbage.
A bunch of coke heads.
Right. Just go down here's the best one. Who would have God's green earth with the San Antonio Spurs? Look what they did. Look what Tim Duncan did. Stayed there his whole career. Didn't win every year. You draft smart.
He did win 5 titles.
Okay, but they drafted smart. So these small market, and I know Chicago's not a small market, but they were nothing before Jordan showed up. Yeah. So LeBron would have gotten so much more respect, literally so much more respect
if he was
on 3 right now. If he was on 3 and all 3 were with Cleveland, I believe he'd get more respect than the 4 he has. I really do.
I don't disagree. It's we love him, but at the same time,
don't dance around. Oh, now I need AD. Oh, Westbrook. Oh, that's not going to work. This guy won 33 games.
Yeah.
With a lineup of Carmelo Anthony, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, LeBron James. I think Dwight Howard was on that team. Those are 5 first ballot Hall of Fame players. They won 33 games.
Well, of course I would push back and say that you had 2 of those guys that were extremely over the hill and had no business being on NBA rosters at that point, and Dwight Howard and by the way,
Carmelo. Why is Westbrook playing good now with the Clippers? How did that happen?
Because they gave him a reduced role. That's why, at least in my mind. I mean, look, it was to me. It was Russell, you're not the same guy you were in OKC, right? You're not the same. Right. You're not the same. Take that crazy 15, 20 minutes of you just being angry at the world and going 100 miles an hour and whatever else it is that Russell Westbrook brings to the table, and condense that down into 20 to 25 minutes of just good basketball coming off the bench. And to his credit, and also, too, I think we also need to take this into consideration. The NBA, to me, is, along with the NFL, the 2 most important leagues when it comes to coaching. Because I think you can't say enough about the job that a guy like a Tyronn Lue does. I think you can't say enough about the job that a guy like a Popovich does back in the day. Now, I would argue now he's just become, screaming at my porch, off my porch, old man. It's like, okay. Because it's, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's like, dude, it's politics and wine. Get the fuck out of here, bro. What are you talking about? Okay. But you look, like we said earlier, look at the job that happened with the Lakers when Shaq gets there. And then suddenly you put in a Hall of Fame head coach and one of the greatest ever, and for my money, the greatest coach of all time in the NBA, and that being Phil Jackson. You plug him in, and suddenly, boom! Now you've won. You've got a 3-peat on your hand, right? There's something to be said for that.
Another 2. Then Kobe wins another 2 with him,
and Kobe won another 2.
And they went to 3 straight finals. That team.
That's right. No, they didn't get a 3-peat, did they? What was it?
No, they lost the first one to Boston, then they beat Orlando, then they beat Boston in the rematch. But
and then
LA and Boston aside, small markets in the NBA can win. They have won. It's just a matter of doing it right. But LeBron dances around. KD dances around. Oh, okay, OKC is no good. So Brooklyn's no good. I couldn't win in OKC, so let me join Golden State. Yeah. Now I got to go with. Now I got to get Bradley Beal and Devin Booker and all these. It gets old.
It's become it does, from and with the NBA, look, it like you said, with all the bouncing around, and we've kind of gotten to a point now with the NBA, and you could almost argue baseball too, to this extent, maybe on a little bit lesser scale, where, we just kind of tolerate the regular season until the playoffs. And then once the playoffs start, then we can, then you start to see, you see better basketball when the playoffs start, and you see guys, and let's call it what it is. It's generally better basketball, right? I mean, for as unwatchable as the regular season is, I will say that NBA playoff basketball is as good as it gets. I love NBA playoff basketball.
We're just talking about like the way I see this league going. I think the league has a problem. I really do. I think the league has a problem.
What's the biggest problem?
Well, they're trying to fix the load management thing. But to your point, I don't know, about 15 minutes ago about, they had to give incentive to play in this play-in tournament. Like, so you need incentive to do your job?
Yeah.
Really? Then you had the guys bitching and moaning because they are the biggest bitches. The NBA players are the biggest bitches of them all. Okay. Now, we don't want 65 games is too much. What?
Yeah.
Back in our time, and again, I'll sound like a dinosaur, but like people took pride in playing 80, 81, 82 games. You had pride in that.
You did.
And Kobe, when his beautiful wife did his Hall of Fame speech, she would say, like, I'd ask him, why are you playing? You're hurt. And he would say, there's a kid or a family that paid money to watch me play. I'm going to show up and do my job. That's pride. That's pride. You don't hear these guys saying this stuff.
No, and the Kawhi Leonards of the world who, you don't know.
Now, okay, I'm glad you brought him up, because if I'm going to get on LeBron over starting the bullshit with the big or whatever, Kawhi's the guy who started the load management. He's another bitch. They're all bitches, every one of them.
I would argue, and it's one of those deals where, you look at the LA Clippers and, now on the flip side, look, they're playing great basketball right now. I mean, you could argue the Clippers might be the hottest team in the NBA right now.
But they're another team. Oh, we got to get James in here. We got to get Paul George. We got to get Kawhi. We got to get Russell. Like,
I mean,
how many more do you need? Jesus Christ, too? Okay, go get him. Like, it's crazy to me.
I would like, now here's the question. Would you put Jesus at the 1 or the 2? Because I can't imagine he's more than 5'11", 6 feet tall. I mean, that's the real.
Is he a white guy? Make him shoot.
I mean, what do we think? Me and Ted Johnson used to joke around. If Jesus was a football player, what would he be? And Ted said, "Look, he's a middle linebacker, no question about it." So I mean,
middle linebacker. He definitely ain't a cornerback, that's for sure. He definitely ain't running in those sandals. So
no, but you got to. I mean, look, you figure his stamina is probably off the charts. Okay, he's probably good at reading defenses and seeing what's in your mind. So again, like I said, and I guess the real question is, what kind of vertical do we think Jesus has?
I don't know, but listen, if you can change, what is that? The fishes
water into wine.
Yeah, I mean, if you could do all those types of magic tricks, he could blow wind and have a field goal fall short if you needed.
I'd like to see, and would you feel bad if you got dunked on by Jesus?
5'11" white guy? Well, Mac McClung just won the slam dunk contest, so maybe not. But a 5'11" white guy with sandals and a robe? Yeah, that'd be tricky.
Don't forget, though, he does have divine powers. He does have don't underestimate what you don't see on the scouting report, okay? Because you can't measure heart, Chris.
You can't measure heart. Agreed.
And Jesus has got plenty of that.
Agreed.
So we got 28 games or whatever it is left. It'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out. The NBA, like I said, they missed a huge opportunity. I think it'll all kind of grab itself once the playoffs start. And of course, the play-in tournament is kind of fun to watch. So you do have all that, and of course, you do still have the names and what have you. College basketball, we're 3 weeks away, give or take, from Selection Sunday. I would argue UConn's going to be a scary out as far as I'm concerned. I mean, look, I'm not a handicapper. I'm not in your world, but man, I'd put some money on UConn, and that hurts me to say that.
They're the best team. They're the favorite. And I say this when I do my shows, right? And all around the country, you guys out there listening to the show, listening to me on Saturday and Sunday, man, you don't need me or you to tell you guys UConn is going to win the national title. Like, you guys can do that all on your own.
You don't.
Wow, I'll tell you, man, a team that I feel will be scary. I'm not saying they're going to win it all, but if things break right, North Carolina can make a run. North Carolina is very, very talented. And I'll tell you a team that's outside, and I don't think they're going to win the national title, but if this team gets hot, they're going to be a pain in the ass, is Alabama. Now, Alabama can't play defense, right? But Alabama's throwing up 100 points. And
well, they blew out your boys from A&M. I meant to text you that on Saturday because you had just talked about how A&M gotten blown out. They'd beaten Tennessee.
They beat Tennessee. Yep. The Alabama, because it's hard to score in the tournament, right? Because
it absolutely is.
Guys get a little tight and whatever. If Alabama could put up 80, 85 in the tournament, they're going to be a tough out. Now, they don't play defense, so they just go running up and down the court.
Yeah.
Again, guys don't need me to tell you guys UConn's the best team offensively and defensively in college basketball. But North Carolina will be a tough out, and Alabama's going to be a pain in the ass. Now, there could be some other teams. Your Kansas team is unpredictable.
U of H
can beat anyone.
Houston is a team that I think Houston's a team that can get scary. The problem with Houston,
I don't trust them. I never trust that team.
Well, that's the problem with Houston, right? Is that as good as they are defensively, and they will get after you defensively. You know what you're going to get with the Kelvin Sampson team. They're going to be physical. They're going to muck it up. That's what they do. And they do that so well that they almost do it at the expense of their offense, right? But now I will say this. You got Shed, you got LJ Cryer, you got two guards who can get you buckets in the tournament. And you know as well as anybody, you need, if you've got two bucket getters, can you get that third guy when those other two dudes are a little bit off, right? Can that third guy step up? And that's going to be the $1 million question if you're the Houston Cougars.
Yeah, I don't trust Houston. I don't trust Purdue. I mean, you saw Purdue goes to Ohio State and just like, Purdue, it wouldn't shock me if Purdue went out in the first round. How about that? It would not.
Back-to-back?
It would not shock me.
If let me ask you this, because they already got beat by look, and it's so funny because, let's call it what it is. You and I growing up, a 16 seed beating a 1 was
unheard of.
It didn't happen, right? So now we've had it happen twice in the last 4 or 5 years. You had UVA.
But at least Virginia came back and won a national title the year after it happened.
They did come back and win a title the very next year, so they do have that going for them. You got Purdue; they got beat last year. If you and look, say what you want about Matt Painter. Matt Painter is the, you almost argue he's the Kyle Shanahan of college basketball, right? He's great in the regular season. Purdue's always been a very solid team. And then, of course, 1 to 4 seed or something like that. And then they always find a way to spit the bit come tournament time. If they lost again in the first round, because look, they're going to be a number 1 or number 2 seed, right? Unless they completely shit the bed over the next 3 weeks, they're going to be a 1 or hell. Going into Saturday's game against Ohio State, they were tentatively the number 1 overall seed.
It's so Purdue. It's what they are. I don't trust them. I don't trust Houston.
I would argue right now I wouldn't trust Kansas.
You see, Kansas is one of those teams that if Kansas shows up, they can beat anyone in the country.
That's it.
Kansas is one of those, and I think North Carolina can beat any team in the country.
Yes.
I think Alabama.
KU's done it. That's the crazy part about it. KU's got wins over Tennessee. They've beaten UConn. They've beaten U of H. Now, difference is, all right,
they go and get annihilated by Texas Tech.
They get annihilated by Texas Tech, but the games they beat against the games they won against UConn and against U of H, both at home. Both at home. So, it's going to be interesting to see. And the problem with KU, they can't shoot they're horrific at shooting the 3 ball. All right. They can't shoot the 3 ball to save their life. And they're not deep at all. They won maybe 2 deep off the bench. Hell, the last game, what was it? Against Oklahoma, I think they had six bench points. All right. It's a tough go if you're going to make a deep run with 6. Because if that's the case, you're starting 5 better ball all 6 games if you're going to win a title.
100%. 100%.
All right, real quick. We'll start wrapping this thing up. Secondly, so we got, like I said, we're getting into the like I said, I think KU's got 5. We're down to the nitty gritty of college basketball.
5 or 6 games. Before the conference tournament.
Exactly. And then we got spring training right around the corner. Actually, we got our first spring training games. And then the question I had for you. Look, we know that women's sports, especially in the collegiate realm, is starting to take over. Caitlin Clark, you can't get enough of her here lately. Are you seeing an uptick in betting on women's sports?
So we're not handicapping it because you have to stay in your lane and do what you're good at. But people are betting it. And look, I don't want this. This is not an insult, right? Gambling is the only thing that could have helped women's sports grow to a level that gets you. Now, I want to offer an olive branch there. I have gone on radio when, let's say Tennessee has played Jacksonville on a Thursday night, right?
Yeah.
I have gone on radio and said the only people who are going to watch this game outside of the fans of both teams are the people who gamble on it or people with fantasy sports. So gambling has helped the men immensely as well, right?
Yeah.
So it's only going to help the women's side of it. I think the women are I think they're insanely talented. And I've also made this point when I would coach my younger, when I coached the younger level of basketball, I would always show them clips of women games, right, as opposed to men games, because women were more fundamentally sound. They set good back screens. They had good form on their jump shots. They made their free throws. Like, that's a better game to teach. The problem with the women that I run into is they think they can compete with the men, and they simply cannot. You know, so just stay stay in your lane and do what you're good at. So, and by the way, one of my favorite athletes of all time, who I've met twice, and she was the nicest lady I've ever met, was Serena Williams. I loved watching Serena Williams play. She was one of my favorite athletes to watch play.
No, she's and you know, but of course too. I mean, you're talking about a transcendent talent. Is it part of it too? Is because again, as you're starting to see more, as we're starting to see, because like I said, you got guys that, you know, they know, like I said, they've got their specialties and what have you. Do you foresee maybe in the next year where you'll start to see people that are just, that's all they do is handicap women's sports?
I think there's going to be value in it.
Okay.
You know, it's just another thing that you have to add. I guess if the lines are off or whatever.
I guess outside of basketball, what else are you going to gamble on?
Well, you got to remember something too. You run into limits. Right. So even in Vegas, they limit what you can play. So now are you really going to invest all of your time and energy into handicapping a sport where a customer might only be able to bet $1,000 on it? Whereas if you bet a men's game, you could bet 10,000 or 20,000.
So there's limits on women's basketball?
There's been limits on preseason games. There's limit on men's sports. You know, there's limits. So like there's limits in the NHL. Like that's why we really don't handicap a lot of it. You know, if we're gonna show up at 1 a.m., you know, and break down a Saturday college basketball board, you know, I want my customers to score out on the damn games. Yeah. I don't want them like, well, I don't waste my time. You're going to make $1,000 on Iowa and college hoops, women's. Like, well, who cares about that? You know?
That's great.
By the way, I got a great one.
I never thought of that.
I got a great one. One of the guys in my office, for whatever the reason, he's been in the Super Bowl box and he's 68. He's been in the Super Bowl box forever. He gave it up this year. What do you think happened?
You get booted up by Taylor Swift?
No, he had 5-2. He would have won $100,000. It can't go any other way. It's gambling, right? He gave up the box, you know, the grids, you know.
Oh, okay, I got you. I thought you meant he had a Super Bowl box. I thought you meant he had a box.
No, he gave up his Super Bowl box at a bar and would have won $100,000. And the guy is like, if he tells you, I don't know. He can, if he tells you UConn's going to win the national title, UConn would suffer 3 debilitating injuries. He's that type of guy. Like, nice guy, but can't go any other way. Would have won $100,000 on 5-2. The worst numbers of them all.
Damn. Hey, you know, I mean, hell, whoever had 0-0 at the end of the first quarter was feeling pretty damn good about themselves too. So that's a perfect segue into my last question then. I'm guessing spring training games are who's betting on spring training games? Anybody?
No, we don't even handicap them. We don't even handicap them. You know, college basketball,
right? Because you don't even know who's playing half the time.
No, and not worth handicapping them. Again, limits. You know,
and it's just too unpredictable. Right?
Something that we do.
A third string pitcher from, you know, some kid that was on, you know, the single A team that's trying to make the big league roster. You don't know what the hell this kid's going to do. I mean, I got Verlander on one hand. I got some kid from, you know, the Corpus Christi Hooks going tonight. I don't know who the fuck he's going to do tonight.
In any other sport, the people that control baseball the most, and this goes for any sport, are the umpires, mainly the home plate umpire.
Yeah.
You think about any official, right, in any league ever, the umpire behind home plate dictates every single call in a game. So something that we handicap in baseball is we handicap the umpires.
The umpire? Yeah.
We study the umpires. And we want to give them, you know, spring training to see if they're, you know, what they were in years past, the same thing. Because if you got an umpire that has a tight strike zone, and you got an opposing pitcher who needs the black to get strike 3 calls, that pitcher's going to get lit up in that game. You know. Yeah. Meanwhile, if you have an umpire with a wide strike zone, Angel Hernandez, who, you know, the ball could be 8 inches outside, he's calling it a strike. You know, you want to look at the under in that game because the hitters are going to struggle. So in any other sport, you really have to break down the umpires in baseball, especially obviously the home plate umpires. So we do that.
Say, unless you got Tim Donaghy on the other line, it ain't gonna make a bit of difference. That's interesting. I never thought of it like that before. It makes a lot of sense. All right, takingvegas.com. We got plenty. Like I said, you got plenty. So right now, it's NBA and college basketball. Those are the soup du jours right now.
Yeah, we look a week ahead in college basketball. We might look 3 or 4 days ahead in the NBA. Look for 3 games in 4 nights, something like that. You look for value with teams, road back to back, stuff like that. But we're really breaking that down, and we'll get into baseball probably like the first week of March. We'll start looking at the umpires for the regular season.
Okay.
And the whole process that we take that goes into it. People don't realize. They just think we show up and we go, oh, we like Kansas tonight. No, man, there's a process. I showed you my office. I walked around.
Hey, y'all, this ain't no, the dartboard or anything like that. There's real. I tell you what, I've learned more, and this is something that I hope folks, and this is something that we're gonna do, over the next, leading up to football season. I've been involved in sports my entire life. I've been in sports media for the last, on and off for the last 20 years. I've learned more about gambling and the handicapping and everything that goes into it. I've learned more from you in the llast 6 months than I've learned at any time in the last 20 plus years. So hopefully that's something that, we can educate folks. I think there's, like you, and I know you, and you've beaten this into my head, and it makes all the sense in the world, is that, there's this idea that, and stigmas are hard to break. And for every intelligent person that understands gambling, then you got the people that really don't know anything about it. They see one headline and they think to themselves, oh my God, it's the worst thing ever. Or you have people that got their head in the sand and they think they're still, you still got guys getting their kneecaps busted out. Like, no, it's not. It's not like, because part of it too is that the money has gotten too big, right? I mean, if you're an NBA player, you ain't throwing a game. These guys are making too much money. The idea that you're going to get a guy to throw a game these days is like, that's kind of a move.
That's for tennis and soccer. Those guys.
Exactly. Or boxing.
Yeah. Those things, if you're privy to that information with something, you just keep it quiet and you go bet it and hope not to get caught. I'm not going on radio screaming about it. That's for sure. But, I say with gambling all the time, man, when I do my show, for the gambler out there, for the guy that's going to bet, 10 games a night, money he doesn't have, and he's going to chase, that guy's going to get hurt, in terms of financially. He's going to end up hurting his family. And no one wants to see that happening, right? No one wants to see that. For what we do here, we treat it as a business. We treat it as an investment. We say you got 10 or 20,000 to put aside. That don't mean you're betting 10 or 20 on one game. That means, hey, let's work this. We're going to bet 1,000 here, 1,500 there. We're going to build it up. We're going to take steps. And one of my favorite all-time customers, dude from Alabama, I'd walk around the casino with him, and he loved to play craps. And I couldn't stand the game. I don't think I bet more than $100 playing craps. And he was like, Chris, how come you don't get it? I'm like, I'm not a gambler. And he looked at me. He's like, what do you mean you're not a gambler? I'm like, dude, I'm here to bet 1 or 2 games this weekend. I'm not here for all these lights and shows and girls and nonsense.
Yeah.
I don't care about the car dealer with big tits. What do I care about that? I don't care about that.
I do.
I got to make sure my
I get it. No, it's all good. It's all good. Hopefully your wife has been able to distinguish between the boys. Look, he's the degenerate, hon. Okay, he's the degenerate. I'm the guy that keeps things rolling. Okay, trust me. I've been that role for 20 plus years, Chris. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I'm just in Vegas or in town to bet a couple games, and that's it. Win the game, get out of Dodge. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less.
Hey, it's gotten you this far. All right. Yeah. Hey, you'll be 45 in April, so you must be doing something right. Does that make you an Aries?
Taurus. Stubborn.
Okay, so what are you? So you after April 20th?
April 22nd.
April 22nd. Boom. There you go. Look, the sign, the not to get, we should do an astrological show one of these days. It's big down here in the South. I don't know where's the astrological in the Northeast? Because I know down here women take it to another fucking level.
Well, women take everything to another
Hey,
level. My wife comes up with things that I just look at and make no sense at all. You know, but besides that, I don't really, you know what? It's funny. I really bury my head, man. Like, I'm not into politics. I can care less. I hate them all. I'm not into astrological signs. I don't know anything about them. I'm trying to figure out who's going to win the TCU Texas Tech game tonight. That's it. That's all I care about.
For what it's worth, it is Pisces season starting today. So just for all my Pisces out there, you guys know what time it is. Shaq's a Pisces for those of you scoring. Just letting y'all know. Just letting y'all know. In any event, all right, text win to 545454. Is that correct?
Yeah, just text the word win to the number 545454. There's not a free pick on there for tonight. There will be one on there for Wednesday. Again, we don't give out free picks every single night. You visit takingvegas.com. Got some really big things planned for the site. We got the app under development right now that we're really excited about. That's going to implement AI. So we're excited about that. A lot of good things going on. A lot of good things to help the handicapping tools, just to bring the best product that we could possibly bring. So keep doing it the right way. Things keep working out. Everything goes well.
TakingVegas.com. Go check it out. You will be glad you did. Best handicapper in the business. Don't just take my word for it. Give him a call. You'll find out. You will be happy that you did. For the one, the only Chris Hodge, I'm still Fred Davis from NYC to H-Town and all points in between. Good night. God bless. We'll see you next time. Boom. I mean, dude, we just did